Hi, I'm Skyla Lee. Today I'm going to read you a story inspired by the journey to the West. This story is about how Tripitaka overcame overthinking. Please enjoy. Journey to the West. How to overcome overthinking. Tripitaka the monk galloped through the heavily forested hills. Atop his snowy white mount, Silver. Images of the goddess Guanyin flashed through his mind, minute speech bubbles appearing beside her with the text. Imprisoned below the mountain of 5 fingers is Sun Wukong, the monkey king of Mount Huaguo. You are to remove the prayer on the rock and let him leap out, on the condition that he accompanies and protects you on your expedition to India. A few days later, you will stumble upon the Black River, where the third son of the Dragon King of the Western Seas, Aulier, awaits you. After that, you shall come across a picturesque village with a family you are to stay with overnight. They will tell you of the former celestial marshal, Jubajier, and his mischievous kidnapping of their daughter. Let him carry the luggage to the river of flowing sand, where you will meet Shah Wujin. His history is identical to Bajier's. He was expelled from heaven because of a shattered bowl during the peach banquet. A plethora of misgivings flooded through Tripitaka's brain at the memory of these words. He had been attempting to banish the unnecessary apprehensions for a week now. Silver cantered to a halt at the foot of the mountain of 5 fingers, at the light pole of the reins. Tripitaka cautiously dismounted to delightful cries from the monkey lying at the very base. I have been told by the goddess Guanyin that you, Sun Wukong, have suffered enough. He stepped forward and peeled the prayer holding the rock in place from the colossal expanse of stone. Tripitaka galloped away from the mountain atop Silver as Wukong leapt out from its roots. He dropped to his knees before his new master, a sly grin on his face. Tripitaka, isn't it? Did Guanyin visit you too? The monk nodded, wary eyes fixed on his new bodyguard. Not that he knew the monkey wouldn't escape back to Mount Huaguo as soon as trouble started brewing. What if he does desert me? I'd have to fend for myself, but I don't stand a chance against even a bandit, let alone demons. Even worse, what if he decides to kill me? What are the odds that he'll whip me to death with his weapon? Or would he fancy triggering an avalanche? Maybe he'll ally with a band of monsters. Tripitaka's mind whirled as he attempted to quench the flood of oncoming misgivings. He managed to jerk himself back to the present at a panicked whinny and narrowly avoided colliding with the trunk of a macrocarpa tree. Silver snorted at him and continued trotting through the undergrowth, head raised in dignity. I have to solve this overthinking tendency of mine before it puts my mission in jeopardy. Tripitaka galloped over the cobbled path atop Aulier, now a horse. The snowy dragon stallion thundered through the hills swiftly, Wukong effortlessly riding his somersault cloud and sculpting ahead. Jibajier had been tasked to lead the horse and was struggling in his attempt to do so, given the unsatisfactory speed of his means of transportation. He rode upon a cloud akin to Wukong's, but this one reflected his personality and was the most sluggish amongst Tripitaka's 3 fellow pilgrims. Shabu-Jin, the 2 bags of luggage hefted over his shoulder, was lagging behind and took up the rear of the group. His method of travel was far more efficient than Bajie's, but he still had a long way to go before he overtook Wukong. The Monkey King led them over the peak of the next hill, and Tripitaka pulled Ao Lier to a halt at the foot of a towering mountain whose shadow loomed over him with the severity of 1,000 suns. "Aye, light your lamps, everyone," Wukong said in dissatisfaction, hands on hips at the dimness of the heavily forested expanse of stone. He trudged forward, setting his lantern's candle alight with a smoldering match. Tripitaka darted in front of him. "Are you insane? Do you know how many demons could be lurking inside?" The monkey tutted and stepped forward into the dark of the forest. "Why does he have to be so bold? He'll get himself killed, surely." "I doubt he will with that staff of his," another part of his mind retorted. "The demons might have magical instruments capable of stealing weapons." "Well, then he'd go to Guanyin and plead for help." "What if Guanyin can't do anything?" "All monsters with magical instruments have heavenly origins. They're usually transmogrified mounts who abandon their disguises at the call of their owners." "But what if—" Tripitaka squeezed his eyes shut as he forced the flood of thoughts out of his mind. "This is a severe setback to my mission. I must not let it interfere." Meanwhile, Wukong had disappeared. Ao Lier trotted after him, and Tripitaka had no choice but to be engulfed by the darkness of the forest. He hunkered down on his mount's silvery back, petrified. A harmless owl's hoot was the howl of a demonic wolf. The cracking of a twig as a young fawn stepped on it was the deafening footfalls of a mammoth monster. The shadows of crickets, elongated by the lamps hanging from Ao Lier's leather saddle, were the signs of looming behemoths waiting for the perfect moment to waylay Tripitaka and his group of pilgrims. Wukong, noting this, morphed into a lion in a puff of oyettes and parted his jaws in a colossal, ear-shattering roar that sent all creatures scuttling into refuges. The forest was blanketed in complete silence, but Tripitaka didn't especially enjoy that either. "Honestly, you despise noise, but its absence gets on our nerves." On they went in single file, the monk hating the jungle more with each crunch of Ao Lier's hooves against fallen leaves. Around midday, Tripitaka felt pangs of hunger from his stomach. "Wukong," he called, "will you ask for food from a family living around here?" "I'm famished," added Bajie, massaging his bloated belly wistfully. The monkey turned, laughing at the suggestion. "There are no isolated houses in a forest like this one," he said, pleading for something to consume or to do anything. "Well, then gather some," Tripitaka retorted. "Surely there's a handful of fruits growing in this accursed forest." Wukong soared into the air, informed him of a peach tree rooted deep in the jungle, and glided off. As the Monkey King departed, Tripitaka spied a ravishing maiden, an enviable pot of rice slung around his slender arm. She let out a gasp at the sight of the monk. "You look as if you haven't had a repast in days," she said. "Will you kindly allow me to give this meal to you?" to protect her friend, who was it intended for. But my husband is enjoying his lunch break, the girl responded. Rice is his favorite. The attacker attempted to ignore the screams of his stomach for him to take the food. I can't possibly take your husband's repast for myself, he said.